Marcos here, and welcome to another Eaveecraft server play episode. I've done a fair amount of changes since our last episode. I've actually got my smeltery working now for Tinker's Construct. Not doing too much, just making aluminum brass in it for a few other mod items, but at least it's operational now. My Big-Reactor is finally operational. What you see in there is cryotheum, I believe is what it's called. I found a bunch of it in the nether, and it is arguably the best cooling source for the reactors to produce the the best fuel to power efficiency rating. I don't have my reactor running right now. I kind of use it as a backup because I don't have a lot of energy storage. So what winds up happening is its internal storage backs up pretty quickly, and I just have nowhere to output that energy. So we wind up with a lot of wasted fuel. I've now got some basic bee stuff going. These are all Gendustry blocks. From left to right, I got my mutagen producer and a mutatron. These are basically used to mutate bees into different types. My genetic sampler here, because my bees are underground, I'm trying to extract the cave dwelling trait so I can get more bees here functioning that don't require to be outside. And so basically I've just got an applied energistics pipe constantly putting in materials, and as the traits are created, they're put into this chest because it can take a while to get the trait that you want. And well, there it is. I actually got it. But this way I can put bees in, it pulls out the traits, and I don't have to just sit here and pull out each trait as they get done. It's just, this is a lot more time saving. Genetic imprinter, which is for taking those traits and actually putting it onto a bee. And then there's my apiaries. Right now I've just got basically a rocky queen that's been modified to produce a couple offspring every death. So that's how I've been producing the rocky bees in order to get that cave dwelling trait, and which I'll also use for mutating. So that's more or less all I've got done at this point. It is quite a bit, but next what I'm going to be working on here is, I definitely need to expand upon my bee stuff now that I finally got that cave dwelling trait. The next step is actually creating some mutations and expanding my bee line into some actual productive things. I do have a lonely little centrifuge here in the corner that I am using to basically take any combs that I find. What's in there right now is Certus combs, which are from quantum bees, which I have running, off-site right now. And but basically, this just pulls in any comb that happens to be produced from any of my bees, extracts their contents, and it just saves me a lot of time that way too. Alright, so now back to what I was going to be doing. This is my current to-do list of things that are required. I already have installed some lighting, although it's not really well laid out and it doesn't really cover the base, but I've got some lighting in here that isn't just torches. The bee farms I need to work on. I do have a tree farm that I actually have above ground now. That's basically, here, I'll give you guys a quick rundown. Let's see here. Alright, so basically it's being used solely for rubber tree production. I don't really need a lot of rubber, but it is used for sticky pistons and a few other things, especially MFR machines. So I figured I would just stick with that because I don't need other logs too much at the moment, and if I do wind up needing more stuff, it's pretty easy to swap out saplings. So I've got basically just a few windmills here, probably too many, with a basic energy cube, keeping these two machines covered. We got our harvester here with a diamond upgrade, so it's accessing a lot more of an area for cutting down. Over here is a sludge boiler, which is the primary reason why I have my tree farm. As the harvester operates, it produces sludge in here. Sludge is like a byproduct of the harvesting. That sludge goes over to the sludge boiler, which changes it into random basic blocks. like so dirt, soul sand, things like that. But the big reason why I have this is it produces clay. Not all the time, but enough sludge gets produced and enough blocks get produced that I actually get a fair amount of clay. I have not harvested for any clay pretty much since I got here. And let's see what my totals are right now. Okay, I've got 35 clay, which is a pitiful amount, but that's 35 clay more than what I would have had if I didn't have that farm set up. And my farm is still growing. As I'm sure you could have seen, it's not even fully seeded yet. So as it gets larger and as more stuff gets planted, this will be running a lot more smoothly, especially if I get to a point where I start fertilizing the trees. But that's going to be something different further down the road. So, next on my list, again, since I've been rambling a little bit since the beginning of this, is the major things I need to do is the capacitor banks, which will be for expanding my my power storage, as well as furnace automation. Right now, if I collect ores, what winds up happening is I actually have to manually pull them out, plop them in the machines, and while it does go through the entire process of converting it into dust, and then I have this setup that takes the dust and converts them into ingots as necessary, I still have to go through that process of getting the ores, popping them in there. I'd be much better served by just having it automatically do that whenever it detects ores in my ME system. So it's just a time saver, because there's a lot of times the machines just sit there idle. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and plop some more ore in here. Although 14 iron ore isn't really much to work with. I was in nether mine earlier, and I found a random wool in the nether, which is kind of interesting too. Right now I'm working on my capacitor banks here, that I'm probably not going to be able to get them all done because in order to make the electrical steel I need silicon. Silicon, while there are different ways of getting it, the primary way is to take clay blocks, toss them into a sag mill, and you randomly get some clay back and the silicon from it. And I have a very limited source of clay, as you saw before, so we'll have to see how this pans out. I should have enough to at least get a dozen or so. I'm not sure where that lightning's coming from. I wonder if it's raining outside. Nope. Might be someone using lightning spells then. Alright. So yeah, the reason why I want to use the capacitor banks is this is an elite energy cube, which is basically the highest tier of mechanism energy storage, and you can stack them. Like I could put 3 or 4 together and have them kind of daisy chain into each other, but the problem is that they still have a finite amount of energy that can be output. So no matter how many I have stacked up, this cube will only ever be able to send out a maximum of this much energy, which is actually a pretty large amount. But as my base gets larger and I start branching out into outposts and stuff all with one central power area, it's going to wind up not being enough. With the capacitor banks, their energy output actually increases as you expand upon it. So if ever I need it to be able to output more energy, I just need to make more capacitor bank blocks and add it. Some people on our server have capacitor banks so large that it outputs 30 or 40,000 MJ a tick, which is just ridiculously large. So we have 5 now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start making this bank happen. Really doesn't matter how you do it. Eventually I'll square this off as I get more blocks done. Capacitor banks also have these little markings when you attach something to it. When it's blue, it counts as an input. You have to right click it with a wrench to turn it to orange, which makes it then an output. No energy is coming out, obviously, because I just set this up. It's got no power yet. So we just need to hook it up to power source. There we go. So now we have the input, and in theory, energy should be happening. Well, it is passing through. There's just not enough energy passing through and then being output. Wait, that made no sense. Alright, let's try that again. There's not enough energy that's passing through that doesn't also need to be passed out, which is why there's no storage remaining. Either that, or it's just simply not working, and that energy I'm seeing is just going into the ME. No, because then we wouldn't have that happening. Let's just take that off for a sec and see what's going on here. Alright, so it is pulling up energy, so no, I am right. Alright, now it is charging up. There might have been some oh, yeah, right. There were some machines that were still going, so they probably had to recharge their internal storage of power. And we are lagging significantly. Hopefully that's just world gen. It was just world gen, so that's not much of a problem. It cleared itself up. Alright, so we'll let that continue going, and our power output's getting low, so we'll toss on our reactor for a little bit. So you see this reactor, once it's running at full speed, this isn't the most elaborate reactor, this is a really basic setup actually, but it is outputting almost 8,000 RF a second, or a tick I should say. So that works out to about 80 MJ a tick, which, you know, it is nothing extremely amazing, but it's a start for me, and I'll be able to expand upon it later on. An 80 MJ a tick is actually far more power than I need right now. As you can see, my energy storage is just skyrocketing up. And my output actually, this output isn't strong enough. The internal storage of this is probably getting close to full. No, it is full, so this is why I start fearing I'm actually wasting energy, because of the fact it can only store so much, and we're kind of hitting the cap. So I'm going to turn it off at this point, and then this buffer of 10 million RF will slowly drain into the banks here. So then, you know, I can come back in 10-15 minutes, turn it back on for a second. I can automate this process, but I'm still kind of limited in resources, so I'm going to wait a little while before I do anything like that. My electrical steel is still coming along incredibly slowly. Start working on my bees. Alright, well, what first thing I'm going to do is W2, we already have that. Well, Rocky I will keep. I always like to keep at least one gene sample of every bee type that I have. Right now I only have Quantum and Rocky. Quantum actually is a high tier bee. I wound up getting it off another player. These are always useful. This actually is an effect cancellation sample, which there are some bees that have special effects when they're working. So, like there are some that actually heal you, there are some that are hurt you, there's some that are poisoning, or that will poison you, some that will attack mobs if the mobs are close by. This actually cancels out the effect. It doesn't necessarily need to be used on most bees, but there are bees that I like that will hurt me if I get too close if I don't have the proper attire. So by adding this effect, or this effect nullifier I should say, all the bees are safe to be around that I will wind up using. The cave dwelling obviously I want to keep. That was my thing. Flowering speeds. I actually usually like them making lots of flowers because I use them for I use the flowers for, what am I trying to say? Oh, for dyes and things of that nature. Let's see, we already got the Rocky Bee sample. Nocturnal, I definitely want that. Lets the bees work at night. Temperature tolerance, I want. One isn't amazing, but it's a start. Humidity tolerance is good too. And we'll... So the ones on the right I'm going to keep and add them into a template, and the ones on the left I'm going to recycle. Although they're getting awfully close together. Alright, let's just dump these off. Now to recycle Gendustry samples, in other words, like you just don't want them or don't need them anymore, you just toss them in any kind of a smelter, and they will become blank templates that can be used again. So right now, these go back into my ME system, which in turn will dump them back into my genetic sampler as necessary. Shorter lifespans, actually I think I may want to keep. Eventually I want it to be shortest lifespan. The reason for that is because the faster they die, the more frequently they produce drones, and those drones can be used for liquid DNA, which I can then turn around and use to make more bees, which is something I will show. Probably not this episode, I don't even have those machines set up yet, but later on, because I need an ongoing meat source in order to make that work well. Alright, so now to do this template, I've already got a start of one. There really isn't much to it. This one, it's just a shorter lifespan, which, okay, I've already sampled that, so I guess I don't need it again. And a fertility 2, which was another one I had taken. Alright, so those can be recycled. So right now, any bee that I toss into some printer gets these two traits. It's nothing amazing, but for things like the Rocky Bees start off with a fertility of 1. Usually. So this ensures that there's always a princess and a drone that occur after the queen dies off. So I'm actually going to take this, and now I'm going to imprint the other things. So we want the bees to be nocturnal. We want them to be cave dwelling. We want them to have no special effects. That's that. And then temperature tolerance and humidity tolerance. Ooh yeah. Alright, so now I can dump these back into the system, and then I can cook these ones. And so now I can actually start bringing other bees down here to increase my bee supply. Now I do have a number of drones. However, the first ones I'm going to work with are let's see, let's find a princess first. Is my Oblivion ones. Now, if you're familiar with the Extra Bees mod at all, which we also have on here, but most people at this point only use it just for the bees that it provides. You actually do have the ability to do the trait exchanging in Extra Bees as well, but it's a much more of a tedious and lengthy process. This way it uses quite a bit of power, but it's a guaranteed imprint, as opposed to Extra Bees where a bee could take, you know, anywhere from 5 minutes to an hour for it to get one trait, depending on the luck of the draw with it processing. So we'll take that bee back. It's a little slow, but this is nothing compared to the Extra Bee stuff, so I really don't mind it too much, because I only have to do this once per bee team, more or less. Alright, and the one thing I'm missing here, actually, energy required, it's cold, but it's raining outside. Indeed it is. Well, snowing, but works out the same. Come on. Alright, so the bees won't operate in the rain right now. I could actually fix that with a special upgrade that I can put in the Apiaries, but ultimately I'll wind up just getting the right bees that don't have a problem working in the rain, which I believe is the water tree of bees, extracting their trait and just dumping that into all the bees that I work with too. So then rain doesn't bother them at all either. The reason for that is for every upgrade I add into the Apiaries, it winds up using more power a tick. So the ones I usually wind up using is I use an automation one, which basically once the queen dies and you have your princess and drone back, it will take those, pop it back in here, convert it back into a queen, and start the process over. So basically it keeps recycling the bees. The other ones I typically use are speed upgrades, which makes the bees produce combs faster. For these particular bees, the combs they produce aren't really all that useful for me, so I'm not going to add it in now. But when we get to you know, precious bees, like bees that produce diamonds or emeralds or, you know, metals or redstone or anything like that, having them produce faster is significantly beneficial, because then you need less bees in order to you know, keep a good stock of items. This goes in here. Alright, so the Oblivion bee, there's really not much I can do with these bees. I've got to find, in order to start mutating bees, I want to use a Mutatron. Now the Mutatron is an amazing machine. Basically, if you're familiar with forestry at all, to mutate bees, typically what you do is you have to know what bees mutate into each other. So you take a bee of one species, a bee of another species, you merge them together into a queen, and hopefully when the queen dies, you get a mutated bee in the offspring that, you know, is the new tree that you want. The Mutatron guarantees that transformation, but it requires mutagen to operate. I'm not sure. Let's see, how much does it need? It needs 1 millibucket, or sorry, 1,000 millibuckets, so 1 bucket basically of mutagen in order to function. But in order to do that, you need a mutagen producer, and to produce that much mutagen, like 1 glowstone block doesn't even produce enough for a single bee. And there really isn't much that works. It's basically redstone and glowstone. One of the things that I'm adding to the mod pack is to actually allow the use of uranium to use for the mutagen, and it will actually give quite a bit more. But of course there's a whole processing component to uranium, so people will have to actually, you know, expand their machine base a little bit more in order to properly use uranium with these machines. But there's not much I can do with mutagen at this point. I did harvest some glowstone, so I'm going to use a little bit. We'll use 2 stacks, just to kind of show you how the Mutatron works. Although this may take a while. Alright, we'll just let this operate for now. And in the meantime, let's see what else we gotta do. Assembly chamber I eventually need to do, but I need way more gold than what I have right now in order to do that. Capacitor Banks are functioning. Furnace automation. Automate ore processing. Alright, well, let's do the ore processing. That we're not going to be able to do it 100% right now, but we can at least start on it. So the first thing we need is a precision export bus, because I use ME to do this. We need a quartz cutting knife. I don't think I have the recipe in here, do I? Go. Pop that into the machine there, and then that should solve my issue. Alright, so it's operating. Our export bus should be done. Alright, so now the only problem with using an export bus like this is the fact that it can only handle up to 8 different combinations of stuff. So I can only configure it to process 8 ores. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not a big deal, because all I need to do is add another machine, add another exporter to it, or I could go as far as, you know, like I could add another exporter on the front. If I work this around, you know, I could put one on the side here. Like so I could actually get, you know, 24 different combinations at least, more if I actually separate this from these other machines and, you know, do some weird piping and stuff. But we'll just do one for now. So we'll do copper, gold. If I still have iron ore, I'm not sure if I have any. No, I've converted it all. So ironite won't work. Aluminum we don't want to use. Let's see, we've got uranium. No, tin we'll take. Silver, why not? Osmium definitely. Yellowite won't work in the with the 3-time mode. So all we do is we just take each item, put it in here. You can already see it's beginning to work. Now it's going to go really slow because it's only putting in one item at a time. Of course, it doesn't help when it's at power, too. Yeah, this machine is only handling 50 MJ a tick, or the Capacitor Banks, so I need to expand upon it, try to get that power output up a little bit more. I actually probably need to swap out these cables too. The basic universal cables. They're limited in how much power they can output. They can only send out 500 joules a tick, which I believe is like 2.5 MJ. If my math sucks. Maybe about 25 MJ, which is just not enough for the Gendustry machines, not for what I'm doing at the moment. So let's. I think I have some elite cables in here, ultimates. I only got 2 though. But let's see if I've still got my. Alright, so it is producing ultimates. I'll just have to wait a minute for it to produce them. We need to pulverize Obsidian. That's something I should add to my list. I need an Obsidian Generator, and I need some sort of a lava farm too. Although, granted, I don't really need a lava farm if I have enough of a power output, because I could always just use, I think it's a magma crucible. I always get the GE machines confused when it comes to melting liquids, but I believe the magma crucible will smelt down things like netherrack and cobblestone into lava. It's very power intensive, but it's one way to produce lava. I could also use a lava fabricator from MFR, but I believe that power requirement is even worse than what the magma crucible requires. But the MFR machine also has the benefit of being cheaper to create. So we've got 3 cables. 3 should be enough to do what we need to do here. So we'll take these out. Alright. Let's see how that's working out. Power output isn't changing, which either means the server is not lagging, or we're kind of breaking even with our power input output right now. Machines are all going. So it looks like just the change of the cables is actually significantly. Power is constantly draining. Big deal. Very slowly, but it requires so much power. It's just crazy. But we actually probably have enough mutagen to do mutation here. Because we have enough to do 2 actually. So we'll do something basic to start. The pristine Meadows bee. Basic drone of some sort. Let's say, we'll say a rocky drone. I don't know one of those at the moment. That should make for us a common. So put that in, we put that in. It looks like it actually only used. Oh no, it might just. I thought it was only 800 mutagen may have popped in from the mutagen generator. There we go, we now have our common queen. Go ahead and run the queen once through the industrial apiary. But not bright enough. Come on. There's plenty of light. That's because she doesn't have grave drilling, right? just toss her in here and do an imprinting. Ideally, though, I like to imprint on the princesses and drones, as I believe it's possible for the queen to continue to have inactive traits of its original species, and which could then cause this imprinting to no longer work after it dies. No flowers. Oblivion Bee, what do they require? If I had an analyzer right now, but I don't. You know what? I bet you Yippee probably has one. Just might take me a little bit to find it. Alright, well obviously here's where their bees are. It's just industrial apiaries everywhere. They're just mass producing ender pearls apparently. But let's see here. There's an analyzer. Let's just see what happens. So it analyzes it and then it wants to output it. Alright, well we're gonna prevent the outputting for now. And I'll toss the bee in here. I'll just take a second to finish this thing and then we'll see what it uses. I feel it's something nethery, like netherrack or something like that. Of course I could be wrong. With my luck it'll be like a dragon egg. I can always change it. I don't think I've put the flowering and printing on yet. It requires end stone. Alright, so I was wrong about it being another thing. Alright, so at least now we know what it is. I do believe I have a flowering serum somewhere. I just hadn't used it yet. There we go. So I'll take this out. I'll add the use flowers trait. That's actually quite a beneficial trait to have on there. We'll resync that. And this one's operating fine now. And so once it's done its job and it's dead, we'll re-imprint both the common bees and we'll start expanding this. And then basically what I'll wind up doing is I need to focus the line of bees that I start producing at the beginning to get better traits, so ones with better humidity and temperature tolerances, faster comb production speeds, as well as higher fertilities. The higher fertilities, I feel like it's majestic bees or imperial bees, something like that. Imperial might be the faster production ones. I can't remember, but I'll look it all up before the next episode and make sure that's what I'm working on. The reason why I never remember is because once I've got those traits, I don't even have to think about them anymore. So it doesn't. All I worry about at that point is just mutating bees to get whatever metals or gems that I need. I don't even that's doing its thing. The Oblivion Bee is actually working. Alright, well, I believe that actually covers virtually everything for now. I've got as much ore processing going as I possibly can at the moment. And so now it's just a matter of expanding upon my beeline and solidifying my power base. So for now, this is Lovin' the Taco signing off. Be sure to comment and subscribe on the video. If there's anything in particular you want to see, any machines you want me to work with, be sure to mention it in the comments, and I will do what I can to include it in a future episode. So for now, this is me signing off. Everyone, we'll see you in game.